Powered by the Montana Television Network. This is the 10 o'clock news on Q2, Montana's news leader.
Good evening, everyone. Thanks for joining us tonight. I'm Jeanelle Slade.
And I'm Jay Cohn. A Billings judge puts a hold on releasing the names of 3 police officers disciplined for having sex with another employee on city property.
District Judge Michael Moses issues a temporary restraining order to block the city from releasing the names.
Today's court order prohibits the release of any information that could identify the officers involved.
Q2's Dustin Kleeman joins us with more on today's decision and what it means going forward. Dustin.
Good evening, Jay and Jeanelle. We could very well never know the officers involved. Today's decision means the documents are sealed until a final determination is made. These incidents came to light during a criminal investigation of the civilian employee who admitted to stealing narcotics from the evidence building. Chevek Law Firm is representing the 3 officers involved in the case. All 3 did admit to the allegations of having sex with the civilian employee. The department handed down punishment suspensions without pay for violating department policies. Civil Deputy Attorney Thomas Party says the restraining order will go to a hearing. That hearing is set for May 3rd. You can read more on this case from our partners at Last Best News by clicking this story online at ktvq.com. Jeanelle?
All right, thanks so much, Dustin. Billings police are searching for a missing girl who left her mother's home tonight. 12-year-old Olivia Seminole is described as Native American, 5'1", 120 pounds. Now, police say there are no suspicious circumstances surrounding the incident, but she is being listed as missing due to her age. She was last seen wearing blue jeans, a white sweater, and a black and red coat.
Earlier this morning, a woman was stabbed in a downtown Billings grocery store in what police believe was a random attack. 74-year-old Donald Partridge arrested and booked into the Yellowstone County Jail for felony assault with a weapon. Billings Police Sergeant Harley Cagle says the man entered the store just after 6 this morning, approached the woman, said a few words, then allegedly stabbed her. Cagle said Partridge stayed inside the store following the attack and was arrested by responding officers. Partridge, who police describe as a transient, apparently did not know the woman. She did suffer minor injuries in the attack but was not identified. A recent social media firestorm has Bishop Michael Warfel of the Diocese of Great Falls Billings trying to walk a fine line between support for Catholic schools and the teachings of the Catholic Church.
Warfel sent a letter to all parishes in Billings this weekend and spoke to Q2 News today in a sit-down interview. At issue, a post on Facebook by Great Falls priest Father Ryan Erlenbush. Erlenbush was raised in Billings and attended Billings Catholic schools. Just last week, he called for people to pull their support of the school's annual fundraiser, Mayfair, because 2 of the event co-chairs are gay.
The bishop says Erlenbush took down the post last week, and he told us today that he supports the mission of Catholic schools, but says he too takes issue with the foundation's decision of co-chairs.
There are certain guidelines that I believe that need to be followed. And when someone is living in a context, in this case a same-sex marriage, it is contrary to Catholic teaching. So to place them in such a prominent role then brings people to question, well, are we following Catholic teaching? And Bishop, are you following Catholic teaching?
Now today, Bishop Warfel confirmed he will not attend Mayfair this year, telling us it would be an awkward situation and he doesn't want to be in the midst of it.
Mayfair organizers, meanwhile, telling us today that their focus remains on children's education and raising money to fund Billings Catholic schools.
Former President George H.W. Bush is in intensive care tonight. The 93-year-old was admitted to the hospital Sunday morning with an infection that spread to his blood. The
41st president is listed in critical condition. His blood pressure at one time was dangerously low, and he went through some episodes where doctors were worried that he may not survive. Tonight, though, doctors say he is responding to treatment and appears to be recovering.
The hospitalization comes less than a week after the death of former First Lady Barbara Bush. The Bushes were married for 73 years.
In Canada, authorities are investigating a deadly van crash along a busy Toronto intersection. At least 10 people were killed, more than a dozen injured. A rental van jumped the curb and plowed through pedestrians on the sidewalk in what police call a deliberate act. The 25-year-old driver was previously known to officials. His motive is still unclear, but investigators have not ruled out terrorism.
The man accused of killing 4 people at a Nashville area Waffle House is in custody tonight. Travis Ranking's arrest capped a day-long manhunt. Police say he unloaded an assault-style rifle at the restaurant early Sunday morning. The 29-year-old was naked except for a green jacket. He ran off after a customer wrestled his gun away. His motive remains unclear.
Well, it didn't take long for the April showers this morning to set the city's new snowfall record. That's right, we officially broke the yearly snowfall record at 10 a.m. this morning.
Now, that previous record stood at 103.5 inches, which, if you recall, we tied a few weeks back. Once today's snow started to accumulate, it took just 1/10 of an inch to push us over the edge. But the snow did not stop there. Q2's Bob McGuire joins us now with details on where the record stands tonight, Bob.
We've added some mileage to it.
Yes.
Let me show you what we have here. We started off in early March as the 3rd snowiest winter on record, right? Remember that? Then we went to the 2nd, and then we actually tied for the 1st. Remember that? That was just yesterday. Now today, we're, as you see, at 106.1 inches, which beats the 103.5 inches from the year 2013-14. So this is now the snowiest winter on record. And let me show you some other places that had some snow. Look at this over here, 7 miles west of Broadview, had 10 inches of snow today. Over there by Roundup, they had 7 miles southeast, had 8 inches of snow. 10 miles south of Red Lodge had 5.5 inches of snow. 1 mile south of Red Lodge had 4.5. And here at the Billings Airport, it came out at 2.6 inches of snow, which drove us up to 106.1, which sounds like an FM dial. Anyway, let's go. We'll have more on your forecast coming up in a minute. Let's go back to Jay and Jeanelle.
All right, thank you, Bob.
Well, she's worked her way up from a newsroom secretary to become one of the world's most admired and trusted journalists.
Judy Woodruff has covered politics since 1971. Currently, she's the managing editor and anchor of PBS's NewsHour. And today, she was here in Billings to help support the Billings Public Library Foundation. She spoke to a packed crowd this afternoon over at the library and also took questions from the crowd.
Woodruff has worked in network, cable, and public television over the past several decades. At NBC, she served as a White House correspondent, and at CNN spent 12 years as news anchor and senior correspondent. Having seen D.C. operate for years, we asked her today if she thinks the country's current political gridlock is reversible.
I don't see an immediate relief from today's polarization. I think not only do we have a polarized Washington, we now have a polarized electorate, where many people are choosing their news sources based on their political views. Not everybody. I mean, I'm grateful to say that at the NewsHour, we play it down the middle. We are all about telling it straight. Our audience numbers have grown since the election, and I think that's because there are many Americans who want straight news. But I think in terms of our polarization in this country, I think it's embedded to a certain degree right now, and it may take the next generation to pull us out of that. Our children.
Now, Woodruff also talked about how young, intelligent journalists are making their way through this current atmosphere and how important that is to uphold our democracy.
Still ahead on tonight's 10 o'clock news, this competitor has highs and lows all in the same day. But he says, you know what? It's all worth it.
Plus, later, if fitness is not your forte, that's okay. We're going to check out the Festivus games.
And in sports, Gress Jensen started 7 games at quarterback last year for the Grizz. Now he says he's transferring. Scott will fill us in.
You're watching MTN News with Jay Cohn and Jeanelle Slade. Storm Tracker weather with Bob McGuire. And sports with Scott Green. This is the 10 o'clock news on Q2, Montana's news leader.